In 2001, Ivy and I received an invitation, and it was to go to the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. We're like, what? How do we, us country folks, get an invitation to go to the Ryman? And they said, you have 3 tickets. So it was me, Garrett, and Ivy. So we drove up to Nashville, and I was so excited. Chris Tomlin was leading worship. They had just released a song, Indescribable. Louis Giglio was preaching. And I will never, ever, ever forget that night. He showed all these images, and I was blown away. I didn't pay attention in science class, so I didn't remember all this stuff. But he showed pictures of the moon and the stars and the galaxies and all kind of stuff. And I was like, whoa. I thought God was like a granddad, or like he's big. Like he's like really, really big. And that night, my perception of God was completely changed forever. I will never, ever forget that night. I just remember just being in complete awe of what he's created. And I never had placed God with creation, even though I read about God and creation. You know, things can become so familiar to us that we don't even recognize their glory anymore. Like you saw God's glory when you came in tonight. There was the sun and you were like, oh, it's nice. Or it was, came up this morning, you were like, oh, that's so pretty. And God's glory is sitting next to you. Like you realize that's God's special daughter. That's God's glory sitting next to you. So throughout the night, my greatest desire is that you wake up in the morning and you are in awe of God. That you get up early and you watch the sunrise and it wrecks your world in the best way possible. And then from that point forward, every single day, you notice his presence all the time because he is a powerful God. Amen? They're gonna put up a picture for me of the sun. Did you know that was what the sun looks like? I didn't either. I didn't know that. Here's some facts about the sun that blew me away that night. The sun, the star in the center of the solar system, it's majestic and powerful. There are several benefits from the sun. How many people like to lay out? How many people wear sunscreen? I do now. I went into the skin doctor. I had my first visit, 17 spots burn off. Wear sunscreen, even though I'm not, but I should. I'm gonna start back. The benefits of the sun, it improves your sleep. Your body creates a hormone called melatonin, which helps you sleep. So that's one benefit of the sun. It reduces stress. And I knew it's good to lay out. I keep praying, Lord, I love the sun you created. Please make it not give me age spots or pre-skin cancer spots. Just let me be dark and lovely and be okay and not sunscreen. It reduces stress. It maintains strong bones. Listen to this. I didn't know this fact. It helps keep your weight off. Lay out. Yeah. It strengthens your immune system. It helps fight off depression, and it can actually give you a longer life because it's full of vitamin D. Every time we're out in the sun, we have all this vitamin D that happens. The surface of the sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, the average body temperature in this room right now is probably 98.6. I'm like 97. I'm kind of sweating now, so I may be 98, but the average temperature is 98.6. Lava averages between 1,300 and 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and the surface of the sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The sun is 93 million miles away. 93 million, it just looks like it's right there. Like it's 93 million miles away. The sun is 1 million times the size of the earth. I think we've got another picture. Where's the picture like with comparison? But don't show them yet. Okay, which one would you think is earth? Okay, now turn it over right quick. There's earth. Y'all didn't pay attention in science either. Psalms 33 says, by the word of the Lord, the heavens were made, their starry hosts by the breath of his mouth. God breathed out the stars, the sun. If the earth were the size of a golf ball, the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. The sun is so big, you could put 96,000 earths inside the sun. That is enough golf balls to fill a school bus in its entirety. The sun is so strong that it's sending light out at 187,000 miles a second. It only takes the beam of light 8 minutes to cover the 93 million mile journey from sun to your skin here on earth. And that all came out of the mouth of God. The sun is just one of the hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And do y'all know what the Milky Way galaxy is? How many like the Milky Way candy bar? I do too. Well, the Milky Way galaxy is our hood. That's our neighborhood. We all live in the Milky Way galaxy. Scientists believe that the Milky Way galaxy is 625,000 billion miles. That's 1,000,000 billion kilometers across. Try putting zeros to that. Everybody say the glory of God. 1 Chronicles 29:11 says, yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in the heavens and in the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head above all. Psalms 19:1 says, the heavens declare the glory of the Lord, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. The sky above proclaims his handiwork. The glory of God isn't just a feeling. It's not just an event. It's not something that happened in the Old Testament. The glory of God is a spiritual tsunami of everything contained in the character of God. The glory of God overwhelms every single thing. The word glory in Greek actually means doxa, which means heavy weight. So the glory of God is a heavy weight that evokes a wow. Wow. It evokes honor. It evokes praise. Like when you get up in the morning, you should be like, wow. Wow. You're not just this little bitty son. You're this powerful son that represents my Father. Shouldn't we say, wow? Everybody say, wow. Romans 1:20 says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. That's saying everywhere we should look, everywhere we look, we should recognize the glory of God. It's been called the evident presence of God, but it's more than just a presence. It's the weight of who he is. It's a weight that resurrects. How many of you have been resurrected by God? It's a wow. See how we've got so conditioned? Yes. How many of you have been resurrected by God? How many of you have been delivered by God? How many of you have been transformed by God? You see how it can just become so familiar to us that it doesn't even evoke a wow anymore. And you know what's so special to me? We're loved by God. He's so powerful, and he loves us, and he knows us. So maybe you and I have perceived the glory of God as something different than what it really is. Maybe we think of the glory of God that only happens in here. Maybe we think it only happens like in extraordinary circumstances. But the glory of God is everywhere, and it's available for us every moment of every single day. John 1:3 says, through him, all, everybody say all things were made, and without him, nothing was made that has been made. I read a book one time, and how many of you have read Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence? Oh, just a few of you. It's so good, and if you don't like to read, it's really small. But I'll never forget when I read this book, and I'm going to quote some of it. It was written in 1895. Brother Lawrence was a man of humble beginnings who discovered the greatest secret of living in the kingdom of God here on earth. It is the art of practicing the presence of God in one single act that does not end. Isn't that beautiful? Practicing the presence of God in one single act that does not end. He stated that it is God who paints himself in the depths of our soul. We must merely open our hearts to receive him and his loving presence. Brother Lawrence gives both blessing and instruction how to be content with nothing less than knowing God in all of his majesty and feeling his loving presence throughout each simple day. Brother Lawrence was just aware of God. He was aware of his presence at all times. It kind of reminds me of this. How many of you have ever bought like a red car? And then everywhere you go, you're like, I didn't realize there were so many red cars here, a red car there. Because it just becomes evident to you, like it's everywhere. I'll never forget when IV bought his white, I think it's a Tundra, it's a Toyota, I don't know what it is, it's a big truck. He bought it and we're driving down the road. I'm like, I've never seen so many white trucks. There's a white truck here, there's a white truck here, there's a white truck here, because it was what we were focusing on. So we saw it everywhere that we went. Or what about that prom dress that you wore? I'll never forget, I wore this really cute little blue prom dress and it was so cute and I thought it was so special. And I got there and I was like, she's got a blue dress on, she's got a blue dress on, she's got a blue dress on. And honestly, it was probably 4 people out of lots of people, but it was on my mind, so I felt like I was seeing it everywhere. The more you are aware of something, you do see it everywhere. And I want to teach you how to recognize the presence of God everywhere you go. We glean strength, confidence, and encouragement by acknowledging the power and majesty of our Father. And again, I just want to pause right there because I know there are so many women in here, you've never experienced the love of a father. Maybe your father abandoned you when you were younger. Maybe your father was abusive to you. Maybe your father left later in life. And so it's kind of weird thinking, I want God the Father to love me. I don't even know what it's like to be loved by a father. But the more you practice the presence of God, the more you can receive that love. Isaiah 40:31 says, but those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint. Again, we must fix our eyes on him. Everywhere we look, we should train our eyes to see the glory of God. I told you ladies a few months ago I did a video and we were buying a home and I was so excited. Remember I was talking about doing a vision board and to get it out of your mind so it's not driving you crazy and to put it up on paper. So I wanted to share with you before I go into a story that happened the other day about us just experiencing the presence of God. So I told you guys that we were looking for a house. I told you the last time we were together that we put our house on the market. Well, I don't know, I think Jamie's in here, 5-6 days later, it's sold. And she wasn't even gonna put our house on the market unless we had a rental house because she said it's gonna sell so quick, I don't want you to be homeless. So we're like, we got a rental house? Well, then we didn't have a rental house. We thought we did, but we didn't. She helped us get into a rental house and we looked everywhere for a house. I mean, we didn't even know we were going into the rental house until we had packed our house up. Then we had to go to a hotel for a little bit. Then we got in the rental house and we didn't have a house to buy. So Ivy's like, well, the Lord just tells us to march. So we're gonna march. We're gonna pray and we're gonna march. So we marched to Lacey Springs. That was the first place we went. We marched, we looked at this house and we're like, it's so beautiful. We were like, it's not really the amount of room we wanted that we felt like God showed us. Because at the beginning, we thought it was gonna be 3 barn dominiums. That's what we wanted. A barn dominium right here, a barn dominium right here, and a barn dominium right here. We would live here, and then this would be for Warrior Evolution and everything, and this would be for our animals. Amen? For our animals. We need horses, don't we? Yes, we need horses. So we put an offering on that house. Basically, they laughed at us, and we were very, very generous in this offer. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's not Lacey Springs. We thought it was Lacey Springs, and God was like, no, let's go this way. So we went this way, and you know what's so special? This whole time, we were getting to spend a lot of time with different realtors and building relationships. And like, I've never spent so much time with Jamie. Jamie and I were just talking, getting to know each other more. And so sometimes it's not about the thing, but it's about the thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with the thing that you think it is, but it's about the thing. Because God's more concerned about relationships. So we marched to Lacey Springs and we marched to Tennessee. And then some of y'all were freaking out. You're going, why are they moving to Tennessee? Are they leaving? No, we were just looking for our forever place. We're just marching. We weren't going anywhere. We would just commute to work. Actually, we thought about turning my office into a bedroom. I'm like, I can't live here, babe. He's like, yes, you can. I'm like, no, I can't. I can't live here. I can't live here. And so we marched to, somewhere up in Tennessee, and then we got connected to another realtor, and we got to know her story. And we put an offer in on this house, and we thought it was this house, and it wasn't even a house. It was an old restaurant that then turned into a bar, but we had vision. We were like, oh my, I was like, babe, yes, this could be it. I'm like, we could completely do all this, and maybe this is it that God's sending us. And he's like, yes, I think I see it too. We'll certainly buy a restaurant and convert it to a house. And we're just marching. So we marched here to Tennessee. Then we marched here to Tennessee. And every place that we went, reject, 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 reject. And it wasn't just like they didn't want to work with us. They saw that we were doing a VA loan because Ivy was a veteran, and they're like, don't want to work with you. It was like doors closed, doors closed, doors closed. Well, back up to a year ago. We were looking through houses, and I saw this house on the market. I'm like, that house is ridiculous. It's got a line and a fountain in the bathroom. Who would spend that kind of money on a house like that? I was a little judgmental. I was like, that house is ridiculous. Like, and I thought, you need to go look at that house. And I'm going to be honest with you. I thought, I'm not going to look at that house. And Ivy said, why wouldn't you go look at that house? I'm like, because we have too many bad memories there. It was in Lawrence County. I'm like, I'm not going back there. And I was like, what am I even saying? But remember, the thing's not about the thing. In the middle of this, God was healing my heart. I'm like, we had a lot of bad memories there, just different things our family walked through. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. And I'm certainly not going to look at this house with a line fountain in the bathroom and giving people all kind of ammunition to judge me. I'm like, I'm not going. He said, don't go? Okay. So then 6 months later, he says, hey, every other door shut. Remember that house I told you that's been on the market now for 200 days that we should go look at? I've made an appointment. We're going to go look at that house. And I'm like, okay, we're going to look at the house. And it's on our calendar, and I get ready to walk out the door. And Shelly says, hey, and Shelly's our new assistant. Starla had been with us for 10 years. Starla was Shelly's mentor for many, many years. She said, I don't know if I ever told you this, but 2 years ago I had a dream. And I told Starla my dream, and I wrote it down, and we tried to discern it. And, there was this house, and I'll never forget, it had black fencing going down the side. And then it was this circular driveway. And then me and Starla walked up the steps. And when the door opened, the staircase went like this, and you were standing at the top of it. And I just looked at her, and I showed her the pictures, and both of us start crying. Because God is a good father. He knew that I was kicking and screaming going to look at this house, and he needed to let me know that even though I'm not understanding it, that he's in this. So sometimes God will take us a long way around because he's teaching us something. And just through going to look at that house, on the way there, God healed my heart. I walked through forgiveness of a county. How can you even have unforgiveness of a county? But I did. I'm sorry if you were born and raised there. I live there. I love it now. But I did. I had some bitterness. I didn't know I had any bitterness. And God healed my heart. I had some fears that happened when I walked into the house, and God healed my heart. And I've met some amazing people. So now that we're in this house, God's doing crazy things, and I'll keep telling you stories about it. So that's to set up my next story. Sorry. So me and Ivy, the glory of God, his presence is everywhere. We're going back. So me and Ivy are sitting on the back porch doing Bible study, and it is such a place of refreshment. And I still don't understand all of it, but it's such a place of refreshment. And so we're sitting there, we're doing Bible study, and then it takes my breath. I look around, and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I said, babe. He's like, what? I'm like, look at all the crepe myrtles. He's like, yeah. I'm like, they're all blooming. And he's like, yeah. Hey, run and get my Bible and turn it to Isaiah 55. I did need it. I told Daddy I didn't, but I did. I want to read this real quick. He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, and? I said, don't you remember the promise God gave us when we were at Lindsay Lane Baptist Church 18 years ago? And I was sitting and doing Bible study one morning, and I come running out of Bible study, and I'm like, babe, I think God just spoke Isaiah 55 to me. I don't know what all this means, and I'm Baptist. I don't even know if I know that God speaks to me, but I really feel like he gave me this word. I got it right there, doll. And here was the word. Isaiah 55. I'm just going to read parts of it. It says, come, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. I'm going on down to the bottom of 2. Listen diligent to me and eat what is good, truth, and delight yourselves in rich food. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear that your soul may live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, my steadfast, sure love of David. Behold, I made him a witness to peoples, a leader and a commander for peoples. Behold, you will call a nation that you do not know, and a nation that you do not know will run to you. Now I'm going to pause there because I've seen this lived out over the past 18, 19 years so many times. I'll never forget when we pulled up at Africa. They said, they may not like you. They may be scared of you. And we got out of the van and they ran to us. And I was like, I will call a nation that you do not know, and a nation that does not know you will run to you. And it took me back to Isaiah 55, where I had first learned to practice the presence of God. It says, because the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, has glorified you. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord that he may have compassion on him, and to our God, and he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For the heavens are higher than the earth, and so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than yours. You're gonna go through some journeys that you're not going to understand. You're gonna walk through some stuff, Nicole, and you're gonna be like, I don't understand this. Why in the world am I moving from Oregon to Alabama? And I never even met them before. He goes, my thoughts aren't your thoughts. You're not necessarily going to understand it, but you came and look what God's done in your life. And you may walk through some stuff and you're going through it and you're like, my kid has left and I don't know what's going on and I'm so scared, God. And go back to, my thoughts aren't your thoughts. My ways aren't your ways. They're higher. I promised you a promise. I'm working something and I'll turn it all for good. So just because you don't understand something doesn't mean God's not in it. God's in it. God's glory is everywhere. His presence is everywhere. So my thoughts aren't your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, and so are my ways higher than your thoughts. Think crepe myrtle, I'm getting there. Y'all know I talk too much. For as the rain and snow come down from heaven and do not return, there but the water to water the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It will not return empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent. Now this is the part that got me so excited. For you shall go out in joy and you'll be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall break forth into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Instead of the thorn, a thorn is pain. Instead of a thorn shall come up a cypress. Instead of a briar is pain. Instead of a briar will come up a myrtle, crepe myrtle. And it shall make a name for the Lord, an everlasting sign that shall not be cut out. So I'll never forget pulling into Las Vegas. And I promise you, ask my kids, I'm like, look, the mountains, they're singing. Don't y'all see the mountains singing? And the kids are like, Mom, you've lost it. I'm like, look, the trees are waving, they're clapping, they're celebrating. We're on the right path. We're doing what God called us to do. Now, with this same excitement, I would sit in my Sunday school class too. And I would say, y'all, God told me that the trees are gonna clap, that the mountains, there's not gonna be thorns, it's gonna be myrtles, and God's gonna do all this stuff. Okay, take back to a few weeks ago, sitting on the back porch, and I looked at the myrtles waving. What I thought was gonna be a briar, he had in full bloom beautiful myrtles all around me. His ways aren't our ways. His thoughts aren't our thoughts. I got so off, I need to go back. Let's see. Okay, practicing the presence of God. Okay, I'm like, where did I get? I want to teach you in these next few minutes as we close how to practice the presence of God, because that moment all those years ago has radically changed my life forever. And again, it's not that I don't have moments of kicking and screaming, because I just shared with you, had a moment of kicking and screaming. If you were here a month ago, I told you I kicked the dog. I told him that. And then you know what some of y'all did? Some of you posted on Instagram that you Benet Marshed your dog. I'm like, don't do that. I told you a secret. I thought it was safe. But I want to tell you this. To practice the presence of God, it takes humility. It takes a lot of humility. To practice the presence of God, it takes an act of dependency. And we're really dependent on ourselves. It takes releasing that independence and placing dependence on Him. And it takes an act of discipline because we're trained to figure out our own problems. We're trained to troubleshoot and figure it out. And if there's a fire, we're gonna go put it out. And usually it's not until it gets really, really, really bad that we go, where are you, God? I'm scared, where are you? You don't have to wait till it gets bad. You can practice God's presence every day, all the time, everywhere you go. When you get up in the morning, when you drive to work, you just have to make your mind aware of it. So I'm gonna give you 5 tools as we close to practice the presence of God. First one is this: give yourself as a morning offering. Give yourself, if you wanna practice the presence of God, give yourself as a morning offering to God. Tomorrow morning, wake up and go, all right, my alarm went off. This is the day that the Lord has made. I'm gonna rejoice and be glad in it. Father, before my feet even hit the ground, I am giving myself to you. I want to see things the way you see it. I'm tired of living my life through my own lens. I want to view it through your lens. And then number 2, address your thoughts to God. That's how we began the night tonight. Address your thoughts to God. And I denied my thoughts for so many years because I'm an Enneagram 7, and Enneagram 7s, we like things happy. And if it's not happy, we make a theme song and we make it happy, or we make a joke, or we make something happen. I don't like addressing negative thoughts. They're icky, they don't feel good, it felt weak. But if we don't release that independence and place our dependence on Him, we can't experience Him the way He wants us to experience Him. So address your thoughts to God and be honest. If you don't trust Him, tell Him you don't trust Him. If you don't tell Him, it's just gonna fuel in there. If you're angry, tell Him you're angry before it turns to roots of bitterness and eats away at you. Be honest with Him. Remember how big He is? He's indescribable. Like He holds the sun in His hands. Revelation says He holds the stars in His hands. It's not some little bitty grandpa, God walking around here. You okay? You okay? No, it's like, I created. You're safe with me. You can tell me anything you want to tell me. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to turn my back on you. I'm going to welcome you in. That's part of releasing that independence and placing our dependence on Him. Number 3, turn your suffering into prayer and worship. Turn your suffering into prayer and worship. Tonight we began confessing what was on our heart, and we went on a journey, and then we released it in prayer and worship as we sang. And even the songs, I don't know if you noticed, it started out by, here's who you are. You formed all of this in the beginning, and then you went on a cross and you died for me. But didn't you love that part where Stephanie went, and it's just like she's rah, she came alive in the next song, she just shouted. I was like so excited because I knew it was coming, because death couldn't hold Him. Death couldn't hold Him. He is powerful. His glory is everywhere. He is an amazing, massive God that wants to love you so tenderly. So be honest with Him. Address your thoughts to Him. Turn your suffering into prayer. Number 4, purposefully invite Him even into the smallest things you do each day. If you want to practice the presence of God, I know these things seem very simple, but it's so easy to get distracted. I'll never forget, I put a watch on one time, and I had it where it would go off each hour because I was praying for something, and I wanted to be reminded every hour to pray. I think Emily even got remember we went to Walmart and we bought those watches, the black ones, and beep, beep, beep. You know what's sad? The first day, every hour I prayed. You know what happened the second day? I never heard the beep. I got so busy in my own world that I didn't even hear the beep anymore. So we need to remember in the smallest things every single day. My kids tell me I have a superpower. I have a superpower, and I've told y'all this before. If you lose keys, no worries. I'm going to pray for you, and we're going to find the keys. I'll say, Lord, where are the keys? We don't have time to waste. I don't want to get frustrated. I don't want to get mad. Lord, I'm just going to give this to you. Will you guide us to where the keys are? Hey, sis, why don't you go look under the seat? Boom. I tell you, God says pray about everything. And they're like, I know, Mom, I know. I'll tell you something really, really funny. Where's Amy Potter? Is she in here? Where is she? She's back there. I'll never forget, little Logan was 3 years old. She's like, Nene, my belly hurts. I said, sister, you need to poo-poo. I said, let's sit on the potty. I said, repeat after Nene, Lord Jesus, release my poo-poo. Release my poo-poo. It's okay. He created all things. Bring him into every single moment so you're aware of him. And number 5, listen to God with an open heart. Listen to God with an open heart. Instead of going, no, I don't want to do it that way. That way's hard. That must not be you. I don't want to go the hard way. Listen to him with an open heart and invite him in. Okay, I don't understand this, God, but your ways aren't my ways, your thoughts aren't my thoughts. So even though I can't see it on the other side, you've done it before, and I know you'll do it again, so I'm just gonna march. I may march to Lacey Springs. I may march to Tennessee. I may march to, what are we gonna buy a restaurant for? I'm gonna march to a restaurant. Oh, I forgot one of them. We were gonna buy this little bitty late 1800s cabin. Ella's like, it has 1 bedroom. I'm like, we can add on, it's fine. It's completely fine. Just keep marching. Keep trusting God. He wants to direct your steps. He wants you to experience him every moment of every day. He doesn't want you wandering aimlessly. He wants to direct your steps. So I pray that tonight I've given you some tools that you can actually use. And more than that, I pray that you wake up in the morning and you make a decision. I'm going to practice this. I pray that as you leave here tonight, you think, I'm going to practice this because I want to experience my Father's presence everywhere. Amen.